Colin Trevorrow, director of Star Wars Episode 9, who was the director of Star Wars Episode 9, has just been booted from the project by Lucasfilm's CEO, Kathleen Kennedy. This news comes just months after Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the directors behind the Lego Movie and 21 and 22 Jump Street, were booted off the Han Solo film, still untitled Han Solo movie, that's now being helmed by Ron Howard. I got a very, very simple message to Kathleen Kennedy. Speaking as somebody who's not a big Star Wars fanboy, likes Star Wars, loves some of the movies, not a huge Star Wars fan. This doesn't hit on a personal level. On a personal level, I just kind of view this more as like an industry news and stuff like that. This is not a direct quote of mine, but this is a good quote from, I don't know if you ever heard of Troma, Dominic. I don't know if you ever heard of Troma. It's a film studio. It's a film studio for over 40 years. They've prided themselves on low budget filmmaking. Mainly horror movies. They made a lot of weird, quirky horror movies.
Oh, that kind of studio.
Yes, indeed. Very good studio, man. Lloyd Kaufman runs it. He said it best. He made a whole 4-hour documentary on it. It's a very simple message to Kathleen Kennedy, CEO of Lucasfilms, who has now fired a total of 3 directors on 2 different movies. Direct your own damn movie. And that's really what it comes down to. This is a bad look for Star Wars Episode 9. The optics on this are atrocious. Now, if it had been a year since Phil Lord and Christopher Miller were booted, it would have been bad, but not as bad. You're talking about in a matter of months, 2 different film projects of 2 varying scales. I would argue, maybe some Star Wars fans would disagree with me, Star Wars Episode 9 holds a little bit more weight than a Han Solo spinoff, I would say, personally. But not only that, but now you got 3 different directors, because Phil Lord and Christopher Miller work as a team. You got 3 different directors being kicked off and off a Star Wars movie, cited for the same the problem or the same issue. Was Kathleen Kennedy said, Colin has been a wonderful, and I quote, Colin has been a wonderful collaborator throughout the developmental process, but we have all come to the conclusion that our visions for the project differ. And again, I sort of estimated it with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. I still sort of, even though with the details of that, I don't totally subscribe to this, but I more loan it. That's code word for me was I wanted to do something different. You didn't want me to do something different.
What is Kennedy's official title?
Kennedy's official title?
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy is the CEO.
The CEO
She is the CEO of Lucasfilm.
Lucasfilm.
Yes.
Okay. What? Direct. Yeah, I can't think of any other way to put it. Direct your own darn movie. I agree with that completely. One is an incident. Once is an incident. 2 is a trend. This sets a horrible precedent now for future Star Wars movies. And Star Wars being under the umbrella of Disney, you could even lump that kind of trend together with Edgar Wright and Ant-Man, right? I know it's a different studio still, but under the purview of Disney, that just kind of reinforces the narrative at Disney. Not that this was a fading narrative at all, but it kind of reinforces the trend of Disney just kind of imposing its formulaic thing on top of artists who actually want to try something, right? And you can even parallel that with the Marvel movies in terms of
Absolutely.
I don't even know what kind of vision Kathleen Kennedy has. Any vision she has at this point is now...
She's the president, to FYI.
Right,
President, my bad.
of
Not CEO.
Of Lucasfilm. But
Any vision.
Any vision that she has is already going to be muddled with the directors and writers that are also working on... She's supposed to be collaborating with on these movies. What is the end game there? I can't see any other reason than to just put her in. Has she directed any movies?
Yeah, I don't know. She's a film producer. That I'd have to go back and look at that. But the problem with this too is, again, it deters anybody from wanting to work on a Star Wars movie, and that's not good. You think Star Wars would be a great project for a lot of directors, but not if your job's at stake. And Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, I have confidence that they're going to bounce back, but don't discard it, man. This is a big blemish on their career. You know what I mean? Is getting booted off. Notwithstanding too, I don't know if this might or might not happen with Colin Trevorrow, but don't forget too that, remember, we talked about this pretty extensively on air. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, there was a big article on them about their general about what happened on set and how they were trying to direct Star Wars allegedly more like a comedy, more so, and use their kind of improv style. They didn't work as well.
The Han Solo movie.
Yeah, the Han Solo movie. They didn't work as well with Alden Ehrenreich. So there were some legitimate issues. At least that's the way it sounded. There were some legitimate issues. Where this, though, even if there are legitimate issues, it's a bad look. Bad look for Kennedy and Lucasfilm in the way that it looks like no matter what happens, they don't really seem to be satisfied.
No director's going to want to come in, direct a movie for 4 months, and then after 85% of the movie's completed, get fired, have someone else there, and share your credits. Mm-hmm. It's like, and then people are just going to question forever now, okay, which was yours, which was mine, or which was the other director's.
And somebody actually too took the quotes. Okay, so Lucasfilm / Kathleen Kennedy's message to Colin Trevorrow. They said that they've mutually chosen to part ways on episode 9, and then it says, Colin, I'll say again the quote, this is in reference to Trevorrow's firing. Colin has been a wonderful collaborator throughout the development process, but we have all come to the conclusion that our visions for the project differ. That's Kathleen Kennedy on Colin Trevorrow's exit. Now, Kathleen Kennedy on Phil Lord and Christopher Miller's exit. She says, Phil and Chris are talented filmmakers who have assembled an incredible cast and crew, but it's become clear that we had different creative visions on this film, and we've decided to part ways. That's almost the exact same memo.
Vision. This is
different
the key
creative vision. Well, first it was creative vision. Now it's just visions. Now these visions lack creativity. This is the same damn complaint. It's not like saying Trevorrow shows up an hour late and doesn't tie his shoes. You know what I mean? This is the same complaint.
It just makes me think. I had no idea who Kathleen Kennedy was until these 2 incidents came up.
Neither did I.
To me, it just sounds like she's up in her office just playing with Star Wars action figures all day. Oh, cool. What if we had Han Solo? What if he did a backflip and then Greedo does the thing, and she's just making up stuff in her head all day, and then she's just like, oh well, I own a company.
Now what's hilarious is that, and we'll leave it with this then, and go to the next hour though. You know what I find absolutely hilarious is that a lot of people are saying that maybe Kathleen Kennedy saw The Book of Henry, which was Colin Trevorrow's last film that was directed in June. I don't know if you heard about this movie, The Book of Henry. This was such a strange friggin' movie. It's got Naomi Watts in it and Jaden Lieberher and Jacob Tremblay's in it as well. This was a very strange movie, and I don't remember too much about it. I saw it in early June, so it's been a little bit, and I've seen a ton of stuff since. It didn't do well at the box office. It bombed, but it's funny because the movie's about this 11-year-old kid named Henry, and he's like a genius, okay? And he's so smart that he lives with his mother, Naomi Watts, who's single. He lives with her. He does all her taxes. He does all the buying food.
Oh, this movie.
The genius 11-year-old. And what the funniest part is they think that they've kind of the conclusion that they live next door to one of the guys in the police force, I believe it is, and he's got a daughter, and they think that he's abusing the daughter and stuff like that. So the damn kid dying from a brain tumor too in the movie. He's dying from a brain tumor. I believe that's what it is, Henry. He hatches this entire plan in this notebook on how to murder the father next door. And it is absolutely outrageous because you're waiting, and it's amazing because Naomi Watts, for how gullible and stupid her character is throughout the whole movie, is listening to her kid. You just want somebody to say, you're being dictated by an 11-year-old. I reviewed this movie back when it came out. It's asinine. It's not an awful movie, but it's asinine, and it's absolutely hilarious because of how straight it tries to play it. And at the end of the movie, it dawned on me maybe an hour in, and I'm like, I'm watching a movie about an 11-year-old kid that hatches a plan, that's dying from a terminal illness, that hatches a plan to murder his neighbor on reasonable suspicion, but still unfounded accusations of child abuse. It's hilarious. You got to watch this.
It sounds
movie.
like Crappy Gone Girl or something.
You got to watch this movie. I mean, I want you to watch A Ghost Story because that's the one that's actually a good movie that you might get a lot out of. But this movie, The Book of Henry, is just ridiculous. And it's got and there's also he shares the 11-year-old kid Henry shares a romantic scene with Sarah Silverman's character. It's amazing. There's some moments of this that are just awesome. Like, I mean, I haven't seen a more questionable movie since that awful Christian film Slamma-Jamma this year. I mean, it's truly a marvel. And I mean, and this movie was also in production. This Colin Trevorrow's film, The Book of Henry, was in production since like 1998. So the fact that they like slaved over trying to get this movie made in like the current state it's just insane. Trevorrow, though, is more famous for directing Jurassic World, which I liked. I thought it was decent.
It's a decent movie.
Yeah, and he also directed another really good movie. One really good movie that he did that wasn't like a box office blockbuster was Safety Not Guaranteed with Mark Duplass, one of my favorite actors, and Aubrey Plaza. That was kind of based off, I think, a classified ad or something, but that was really good, that Safety Not Guaranteed. But yeah, that's the big news this week. That's the big scoop. Colin Trevorrow is out as the director of Star Wars Episode 9. Optics do not look good for Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm.
I'm just going to wrap it up by saying, this, again, 1 is an incident, 2 is a trend, and this is going to really turn the industry against, I don't know about popular opinion on the internet or mainstream, whatever, but in terms of the industry, that might be a turning point in turning everyone against Lucasfilm, which is already kind of has a shaky ground in terms of just the industry, how it interacts.
And they worried a lot of people too with Disney getting them and stuff like that, and Disney kind of helming these new Star Wars projects. They had a lot to worry about now, and it's not that fans would argue with me. I thought Force Awakens was a decent film. I thought it was a very decent movie. I got a lot of high hopes for The Last Jedi. This isn't going to hurt, and this is irrelevant. I mentioned this to you on the break. This isn't going to harm the box office, results of these movies, but it might. Here's the only concern. This movie's going to make over $1 billion, well over $1 billion. That's a far-gone conclusion. Now the detail is Last Jedi going to be good, and especially if the Han Solo movie's not good or it's underwhelming in some sense. You're going to be getting a lot of. It's not that these Star Wars movies are going to be hurting, but the image is going to hurt, and the image is going to be a little bit dampened. With these newer installments.
Star Wars
That's something to worry about.
Star Wars is at such a point as a cultural force in America and the world that they're all safe bets financially.
It's pretty
speaking.
indestructible.
So
yeah.
we're talking kind of a flip argument from the Labor Day dip, but Star Wars is just great for the bottom line. The only thing that we're really questioning now is we usually try and find a balance between the financial situation and the critical take on the film, and kind of see that as sort of the final stamp on how it's judged.